Once again, Namaskar and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start our intellectual conclave very soon, so I request each one of you all to please take your respective seats. Ladies and gentlemen, as our honorable union ministers, they are running late because of some work. So we will start today's conclave after the arrival of our honorable ministers. Ladies and gentlemen, our honorable guest, Honorable Union Minister, Ministry of External Affairs and Education, Government of India, Dr. Rajkumar Ranjan Singh sir has arrived to mark us. Ladies and gentlemen, as our another chief guest, Honorable Union Minister, Ministry of Donor, Culture and Tourism, Government of India, Shri G. Kishan Reddy sir is running a little late, so we will start today's conclave. I would like to request Honorable Union Minister, Ministry of External Affairs and Education, Government of India, Dr. Rajkumar Ranjan Singh sir on the dais. I would also like to request Honorable Minister of State, Foreign Affairs, Bangladesh, His Excellency Mr. Shahriar Alam sir on the stage. I would like to request Honorable Ambassador of Japan to India, Ambassador Hiroshi Suzuki sir on the stage. I would also request Honorable Minister, Department of Industries and Commerce, Government of Tripura, Srimati Shantana Chakma Madam on the stage. And I would request Honorable Executive Director, Asian Confluence, Shri Sabyasachi Datta sir on the stage. Once again, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to the 3rd India-Japan Intellectual Conclave on behalf of Asian Confluence in collaboration with Embassy of Japan in India, Ministry of External Affairs, Northeastern Council under the Ministry of Donor and supported by the Government of Tripura and the Assistant High Commission of Bangladesh in Tripura. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will felicitate our honorable guest on the dais with Uttariya. And for that, I would like to request our Executive Director, Asian Confluence, Shri Sabyasachi Datta sir, to welcome our guest on the dais with Uttariya. We are welcoming Honorable Minister of State, Foreign Affairs, Bangladesh, Mr. Shahriar Alam sir. We are welcoming Honorable Union Minister, External Affairs and Education, Government of India, His Excellency Dr. Rajkumar Ranjan sir. We are welcoming Honorable Ambassador of Japan to India, Ambassador Hiroshi Suzuki sir on the stage. Now we are welcoming Honorable Minister, Department of Industries and Commerce, Government of Tripura, Srimati Shantana Chakma on the stage. Once again, honorable dignitaries on the dais, we welcome you on behalf of Asian Conference to the 3rd India-Japan Intellectual Conclave. Now, may I request our honorable dignitaries on the dais to kindle the auspicious lamp on the dais and officially inaugurate this conclave. Ladies and gentlemen, we are officially starting this conclave with a lamp lighting by our honorable guests from the 3 countries. Light is a symbol of auspiciousness and prosperity, abundance and brightness, as it expels the darkness of might. Similarly, blessings bring in our life prosperity and happiness. Ladies and gentlemen, our dignitaries on the dais from all these 3 countries, Japan, Bangladesh and India, they're lighting the lamp as a symbol of a strong bond between these countries. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, our request, let's once again, with a big round of applause, welcome our guest on the dais. Thank you so much. Now, may I request Sri Sabyasachi Datta, Executive Director, Asian Confluence, for the introductions and the welcome address.
A very, very good evening and a warm welcome. We are awaiting also the arrival of our Honorable Minister, G. Kishan Reddy, but while he comes, I would like to welcome Honorable Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Bangladesh, Shahriyan Alam, Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs and Education, Shri R.K. Ranjanji, His Excellency, Ambassador Hiroshi Suzuki, Ambassador of Japan to India, Madam Santana Chakmaji, our Industries Minister from the Government of Tripura, Excellencies, esteemed dignitaries from Japan, Bangladesh and India assembled here, very, very senior policymakers, senior scholars, members of the strategic community, members of the press from Japan, India and Bangladesh, and those of us joining us online all over the world. This program is being live cast. It's my great honor and pride to welcome you all to this third India-Japan Intellectual Conclave here in this historic and beautiful city of Agartala, being organized by the Asian Confluence in collaboration with the Embassy of Japan, the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, the Northeastern Council, which is under the Ministry of Donaire, the Secretary is here, and supported by the Government of Tripura and the Assistant High Commission of Bangladesh in Tripura. I thank you all for this collaboration. The title of this conclave is Northeast, India, Bangladesh and the Bay of Bengal in the Indo-Pacific, building on partnerships, the way forward. The first two conclaves were held online, and I'm so happy that now we can welcome you all in person, as well as being joined by others online. In this vast geography of the confluence of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, the Bay of Bengal has a location of high significance. The hills and plains of Northeast India and Bangladesh and the Bay of Bengal is one contiguous geography, an integrated mountain to sea ecosystem, nurtured by our monsoon rains, shared huge biodiversity and a huge population. Much has been spoken and written on connectivity of the Northeast and with our neighbors in the Bay of Bengal region, and especially with Bangladesh. In fact, in our last Nadi conference held in May 2022, Dr. Jaishankar, India's External Affairs Minister, had said, anything that connects is connectivity. We are in the Sonali Adhyay, or the golden era of India-Bangladesh relations, and in a time when India-Japan relations are at an all-time high. In a year where India is hosting the presidency of the G20 and Japan the chairmanship of the G7. And Bangladesh-India relations are taking new heights. It is indeed time to build on existing partnerships, to find new ways to connect physically, digitally, emotionally, psychologically, and to secure and build borders of prosperity spanning this contiguous natural geography. Ladies and gentlemen, the Asian Confluence works in the third space, a space of inspiration, ideas, open and frank sharings, bondings of hearts and minds to forge new collaborations and partnerships. We will be shortly joined by our Minister of Northeast Region, who is also heads Culture and Tourism, along with our present External Affairs Minister of State of India and Bangladesh, the leadership of the state, and the Ambassador of Japan, and also we are here, the Deputy Ambassador of Japan in Bangladesh, all together here in one room. This is indeed a historic occasion. It shows the will of our governments, and it shows the will of all to transform this region into a truly free and prosperous Indo-Pacific. It almost seems that the stars are aligned. Again, a warm welcome to you all. Thank you very much. As we await also the arrival of our Minister of Donaire, we will continue with the program. And I now request Madam Santana Chakmaji to kindly say some things on behalf of the state government of Tripura, which is supporting and the host state of this conclave. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Honorable State Minister MEA, Dr. Rajkumar Ranjan Singh Ji, Honorable Foreign Minister of State Bangladesh, Your Excellency Ambassador of Japan, Hiroshi Suzuki Ji, ED Asian Confluence, Sobhoshashi Datta Ji, Honorable Members of Governing Council of Asian Confluence, Senior Officers, and academic and media from Japan, Bangladesh, India. Friends, I am glad to be here with you all and inaugurated this important conclave on the themes Northeast India, Bangladesh, and the Bay of Bengal in the Indo-Pacific, building on
Ladies and gentlemen, our Honorable Union Minister, Ministry of Donor, Culture and Tourism, Government of India, Shri G. Kishan Reddy is right among us. Now we will welcome our Honorable Sir with Uttariya.
Today's themes is Northeast India, Bangladesh, and the Bay of Bengal in the Indo-Pacific, building on partnership, the way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to note that a think tank based in Northeast region, namely the Asian Confluence, with a great track record of many successful projects, is encoding this important dialogue along with MEA, NEC, Embassy of Japan. My government is happy to support this, and as the host state, extend a warm welcome to all the delegates of these important conclaves. Tripura is one of the 7 sisters and one brother of the Northeast region state. Is surrounded by Bangladesh on 3 sides. Bangladesh has India on 3 of its borders and the Bay of Bengal to the south. The southernmost point is Tripura, is only a mere 75 kilometers from the Bay of Bengal. This is indeed a unique geography. Under the dynamic leadership of India Prime Minister and Bangladesh Prime Minister, we are now in the golden era of India-Bangladesh relation and development of connectivity between Tripura and Bangladesh. On one side and Tripura with the rest of our Northeast region. On the other can really transform not only our state as a gateway to both the Bay of Bengal and the ASEAN. On this physical connectivity development of economic corridors, creation of value chain, joint investment in manufacturing and services, value addition of the rich agro produce of the region, etc., can truly transform the region as a whole. The presence of the Honorable Minister from India and Bangladesh at a dialogue on this is telling of the seriousness of intent and action to achieve this goal. Japan is a trusted development partnership of India and Bangladesh. India-Japan collaboration toward a vibrant and prosperity. Bay of Bengal and Indo-Pacific has caught the attention of the entire globe. Japan has supported many activity projects of the development across the Northeast and Bangladesh. JICA has several ongoing projects in Tripura. We welcome this. The presence of so many luminaries from Japan is matter of great significance in this dialogue and telling of the important Japan plays to this relationship and vision. I welcome all the development agencies and companies from Japan working in India and Bangladesh who are here today. One of the ideas being presented in this conclave of connecting the Matabari deep sea fort just south of Tripura to Sabrum in Tripura, which is situated within a distance of around 190 kilometers and further creating a corridor all the way to Silchar and beyond can indeed transform the entire region from inclusive growth and prosperity. Tripura can really be one of the connectivity hub from the region. Today, as we speak, we are already well connected by air to the rest of India and other northeastern states. We have 3 landforts and 1 island waterways fort with Bangladesh. Other road network is very good. To enhance trade and commerce through Bangladesh, including import and movement to northeast from rest of India and making Tripura the gateway to the Southeast Asian countries via Bangladesh. Commencement of traffic movement through Moitri Bridge for port connectivity through Chittagong Fort, which is just 75 kilometers away in underway. Also, it is expected that with completed of work of the integrated check post at Sabroom, it would play an important role in improving the trade and commerce through Bangladesh. The Agartala Akaura new railway line will further boost economy and socialism between the two countries. In 2021 to 2022, the total trade volume between the two countries through Tripura was rupees 1,000 plus crores, which is bound to further enhance in near future with the initiative being taken. Our state is also endowed with rich culture and heritage. The tourist attraction is Tripura, along with the enhanced connectivity, can again be a real game chain gate. To attract business, monuments such as Nirmahal, Ujjanta Place, and the heritage of the great Maniko dynasty that rules this region. Our Buddhist heritage and Unokoti, Shobimura, and Devotamura. Lastly, I wish you all a fruitful dialogue and look forward the deliberation. I am glad to know that a study entitled Connectivity Between Northeast India and Bangladesh for the prosperous Bay of Bengal region opportunity, and the way forward is being released with objective of enunciative how to realize the true prosperity and Northeast region Bangladesh economy relation with Japanese collaboration. We looked after the ideas in the mid to look term horizon and an assessment of the present state of affairs, challenges and opportunity. Thank you. Joy Hind, Joy Bharat, Joy Tripura.
Thank you so much, Madam Minister, that those opening words really set the tone for all of us here. Now, may I request His Excellency, the Ambassador of Japan to India, Excellency Hiroshi Suzuki-san, to kindly make your remarks. I just wanted to let you all know that we have just started late, but we still have a good 1 hour, 5:30 to 6:30. Honorable Minister has a flight to catch, I think, after that. And so I'm looking forward to the rest of the deliberations. Your Excellency, the stage is yours.
His Excellency Shri G. Kishan Reddy, Minister for Development of Northeastern Region, Culture and Tourism. His Excellency Dr. Rajkumar Rajan Singh, Minister of State for External Affairs. His Excellency Mr. Shahriar Alan, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh. Her Excellency Santana Chakma, Industries Minister of Tripura. Executive Director Sabyasachi Dutta. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad to see such a huge participation for the third intellectual conclave. Actually, this is the first in-person meeting, and it is significant that this first in-person meeting is held here in Agartala. I am so deeply grateful for your participation from so many different places, from various states of Northeast, from New Delhi, from Dhaka, and everywhere else. Thank you very much for coming here today to join this intellectual conclave. And also, it is striking to note that you all come from different sectors, from the government, from business, from academia, from think tanks. So this is the plethora of people who, by meeting in person, who have this chance to have direct communication. When people and people meet, chemical reactions happen. And this could be the new beginning of new friendship or new business partnership. So we'll hope for the best. Now, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was a visionary leader, whom I served for 7.5 years as his personal secretary for diplomacy, he often used to say that India and Japan are natural partners. Actually, he forged special friendship with Prime Minister Modi, and he created a very special partnership with India, which is both strategic and global. Now, Prime Minister Abe also had a special feeling for Northeast. Actually, I planned a trip for Prime Minister Abe once, which was unfortunately for various reasons didn't come to reality. So it is so much gratifying for me personally to be here in Tripura, in Agartala, to take part in this intellectual conclave. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe also had a very warm and very special friendship with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. And he started, together with Sheikh Hasina, what is called the Big B, which I come back to mention a little later on. Now, as you all know, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is no longer with us, but his vision still lives. His vision of connecting the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean in one geopolitical concept. He called it Indo-Pacific, and he launched the vision of free and open Indo-Pacific back in 2016. Now, this state, Tripura, can be called the linchpin of Bay of Bengal, connecting Bangladesh and Northeast. Now, Prime Minister Kishida, Fumio Kishida, who visited New Delhi just 2 weeks ago, he made it clear that he will pursue the same orientation of Japanese foreign policy, building on the achievements that Prime Minister Shinzo Abe created, both with Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. So Prime Minister Kishida announced in his policy address in New Delhi a new plan for the free and open Indo-Pacific. And one of the major pillars that Prime Minister Kishida mentioned is this place, India's northeast, together with Bangladesh, and to create a new industrial value chain. This is not just about connectivity, but creating industrial value chain. So let me explain a little bit of background so that you'll be able to better understand this Prime Minister Kishida's new plan. Now, as we all know, northeastern state, in terms of when viewed from topology, is situated at a central part connecting Indian subcontinent and East Asia. However, due to various reasons for a long time, this place has never been given a chance to realize its potential. However, under Prime Minister Modi's administration, this place has become the focal point for the Act East policy. Actually, back in 2016, when Prime Minister Shinzo Abe met with Prime Minister Modi in Japan, they have agreed to deepen Japan-India bilateral cooperation to jointly develop Northeast. Ever since, JICA has been working very hard in cooperation with all the states in Northeast to make that plan a reality. Just around the same time, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe agreed with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina what is called the Big B, the Bay of Bengal Industrial Growth Belt. This is another huge vision. And according to this vision, our both governments have been working very hard to make the port of Matabali, which is a deep sea port. This is very, very special. It's a deep sea port to become operational in 2027, which is only 4 years from now. in 2027, deep sea port Matabari will become operational. That's our plan. And our new plan is to connect this port, Matabari port, through Chittagong, through Dhaka, and to make an industrial corridor. So this is the vision of Big B. And with the concrete project of this Big B, Bangladesh is inviting so much investment from Japan and from other investing partner countries into Bangladesh. So now, we all know that Bangladesh enjoys very high economic growth, 7%. Can you believe it? The main theme of Davos conference this year was recession is coming. But both India and Bangladesh, both countries are enjoying extremely high economic growth. Now, so there is a huge potential for India's northeast and Bangladesh. Now, seen from Bangladesh, by connecting Bangladesh with India's northeast, it can further reach out to further landlocked areas like Bhutan and Nepal. So Bangladesh has the potential to become the gateway of this entire Bay of Bengal area into inland. Now, at the same time, India's northeast is situated by being connected with Bangladesh to be the starting point from inland to go through Bangladesh, through Bay of Bengal, the Matabari deep sea port, to anywhere in the world, because it's deep sea port, it can connect to anywhere in the world. So as you can see, it can be a win-win plan, both for India's northeast and Bangladesh. Now, however, we have challenges ahead. Connectivity is being pushed forward by infrastructure projects under Big B, and also JICA's major projects in Northeast. But, I want to connect these two. Japan is doing so much in Bangladesh. Japan is doing so much in Northeast. But so far, they have been separate. I want to connect those two to produce synergy between the two. That is not the only challenge. The challenge is further ahead. Connectivity alone will not be able to bring about sustainable development. We need investment. We need new industries to be created here in Bay of Bengal area, both in Bangladesh and Northeast. So we need to think ahead. We need to think together our new plan on how to invite new investment, how to create new industries. Now, it may not happen just in 5 years, but when the Matabari port comes into reality, it can be a new leverage. So, to be honest, it may take 10 years, 15 years, but the time to start is now, when both India and Bangladesh are making such a remarkable economic growth. Why wait? We should start right now. And we should think together, and we should, come together in making our wisdom together and plan ahead, so that we will all be able to benefit from this win-win and win plan. When I say win-win and win, win for India's Northeast, win for Bangladesh, and win for businesses I want Japanese businesses to win, but also, other businesses who can take advantage of this great opportunity. So this is the background of Prime Minister Kishida's policy address when he said, I have a new plan for free and open Indo-Pacific. So, as I said before, this is not just about connectivity, it is about creating new industrial value chain. And Japan would like to be in the lead together with India and together with Bangladesh so that this can become a concrete outcome for India's IPOI, Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, of which Japan is a co-lead country together with India in the area of connectivity. Now, this plan has, as I said before, this plan intends to give strategic depth or to reach out strategically to landlocked areas and landlocked countries. And the key is to put in a new prism of value chain, not just connectivity. So for the Northeast, this new plan is beneficial because it connects with Bangladesh with synergy. So India's Northeast can become a part of new industrial value chain. This will bring in new technology, this will generate new employment, and the entire society will become more resilient. Seen from Bangladesh, this new plan makes Bangladesh not a transit point, but the starting point of where the new industrial value chain is created. So Bangladesh will become the new industrial hub for the entire Bay of Bengal area. Now, some may wonder why I am so confident. It's because Japan has a track record. The track record is what we call the Southern Economic Corridor in the Mekong region. Now, this Southern Economic Corridor connects Bangkok in Thailand to Phnom Penh in Cambodia, and finally leading up to Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. It took 30 years to develop, but now you can see the value of this southern corridor. It's not just connectivity. It brought about industries. It brought in investment. It generated new industry. It generated so many jobs. The result is what you see along with this southern economic corridor. So Japan has been working hard together with ADB and many other institutions, and of course like-minded partners. And I need to mention like-minded business leaders, because business leaders are the key to the success of this new plan. Now, I just want to mention that Bangladesh has so much talented young people. It has a bright future. The number of Japanese companies making operations in Bangladesh has been increasing. Now it is 338 Japanese companies as of November last year. And many Japanese companies are making investments in new economic zones built in Bangladesh. Bangladesh will graduate from LDC status in a couple of years' time. So in December last year, Japan and Bangladesh agreed to launch the joint study group on the possibility of a Japan-Bangladesh economic partnership agreement. So hopefully in the future, when we conclude economic partnership agreement, the trade and investment between Japan and Bangladesh will expand exponentially. This is my hope. So through Big B and new EPA, Japan will strongly support Bangladesh becoming the hub of manufacturing, and not just manufacturing, in fact, a new industrial value chain, and make a dynamic growth. And India's Northeast can benefit by connected to Bangladesh and develop together with Bangladesh. And through Bangladesh, India's Northeast will become connected to the rest of the world. So this will bring in huge new economic possibilities to India's Northeast. When I look in terms of population, India's Northeast has 50 million people. Bangladesh, of course, has 170 million. And the state of West Bengal has 90 billion. So all put together, more than 300 million people live in Bay of Bengal area. This is so much more than all the Mekong 5 countries combined. So you can see what a huge potential this area has. So now, government of Japan is providing ODA to India and Bangladesh. They are the first and the second. They are the neck and neck. So both India and Bangladesh are by far the largest recipient of Japanese ODA, making the Philippines a distant third. This is a telltale example of how much emphasis and priority that the Japanese government places both on India and Bangladesh. So I think the future is bright, but we need your help. That's why we're gathered here in this intellectual conclave. The government alone cannot bring this new plan of creating industrial value chain here in the Bay of Bengal area. So I would like to invite business leaders to exchange views very frankly, because investment is the key to success for this new plan. And I want you to exchange views very frankly, including various challenges in the way forward in creating new value chains. Your input from Indian side, Bangladesh side, and Japanese side will help us make our plan so much better going forward into the future. Now, we have so many participants from state of Tripura and all the northeastern states. So I would like you to contribute also so that your state will stand to benefit from this plan. I myself chair ACT East Forum with Foreign Secretary Quatura, and we hope to have this meeting of ACT East Forum hopefully sometime next month. So I will take away the concrete results coming out from this intellectual conclave to prepare myself for my meeting with Secretary Quatua in the ACT East Forum. So I may have spoken too long, but please understand it's out of my zeal to make this new industrial value chain in this huge area of Bay of Bengal, connecting India's northeast with Bangladesh. So I would like to, in concluding, I'd like to thank the government of India, the government of Bangladesh, the state of Tripura, and all the people who are involved in making this intellectual conclave possible. And it would be my great honor if this conclave can contribute intellectually and also in terms of providing concrete business opportunities, investment opportunities, so that this new plan of creating a new industrial value chain a reality in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. That was, you laid out so very lucidly. One could actually feel this whole region in your wonderful speech. I'm sure it will be quoted and re-quoted everywhere. Now, we are, of course, having the constraints of time. But we still have some time because our honorable ministers have flights. But may I now request our Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri R.K. Ranjanji, to kindly make your brief remarks, sir. Over to you.
My senior ministerial colleague, Shri G. Krishan Reddy Ji, Honorable Minister of Donor, Culture and Tourism, Excellency Muhammad Shaharia Alam Sahib Ji, Honorable State Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh, and Santana Chakma Ji, Industrial Ministry of Tripura, and Excellency Ambassador Suzuki Hiroshi, Ambassador of Japan to India, Shri Sebasachi Datta, Director ASEAN Confluence, Member of Governing Council of ASEAN Confluence, senior officials and academics from Japan, Bangladesh, and India, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar and good evening. It is my great pleasure to be here today for the inauguration of this conclave on Northeast India and the Bay of Bengal in the Indo-Pacific, building on connectivity the way forward. I thank the government of Nippon and Bangladesh for their support to this dialogue and the government of Tripura for co-hosting the event. I'm glad to learn that this conclave has brought senior government leaders, diplomats, and stakeholders from India, Japan, and Bangladesh on common platform to deliberate on development partnership and connectivity projects that are ushering in these regions. Friend, the vision of a free, open, and prosperous Indo-Pacific is one of the cornerstone of India's foreign policy. The geopolitics of Indo-Pacific is fast-tracking center stage among the global strategic community. There is a broader agreement that the region is one with great potential, being naturally connected by sheer water and seas, shared civilization, and shared values of trust for inclusive growth and development. In this context, the Bay of Bengal also holds a very strategic and important position, as does the ASEAN region. We, here in the Northeast regions, are very, very close to both these regions. As such, the Northeast is a gateway and potential to the broader Indo-Pacific region. Excellencies, the Government of India under the visionary leadership of our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, has really focused on creating openings and opportunities for the Northeast region through its foreign policy initiatives. In geopolitical terms, we might say that the seven sisters of the Northeast are the link between two fundamental pillars of our foreign policy, the neighborhood first and the Act East policy. India's Act East policy strives to promote economic, strategic, and cultural relations with this region at different levels. We have a vision for this region that is captured in the three C's: connectivity, commerce, and cultural commonalities. Over the last 9 years, India's Northeast region has seen greater physical connectivity with the rest of India. Several highway projects, railway connectivity, and air connectivity projects have been successfully accomplished. This has put the Northeast India on the main connectivity grid of India. The Agartala-Akhora railway project, which is the advanced stage for completion, is a shining example of how development partnership between Northeast India and our neighborhood can usher progress in this region. Excellency, India and Japan are working together through the Act East Forum for promoting connectivity within Northeast India and also between the Northeast India and Southeast Asia. It has been an important and proactive forum for sustainable economic development of Northeastern region and of enhancing the region's connectivity with Southeast Asia. This forum has become a robust platform to streamline and accelerate the Japan project in Northeast. Japan has been one of the most important development partners of India, and official development assistance from Japan have been utilized for various projects, while India and Japan have been collaborating for the overall development of the Northeastern region since 1980. Cooperation with a stated intent to develop the region began in 2014 with the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Japan for the annual India-Japan Summit. Areas of connection identified by the Act East Forum includes connectivity, new and renewable energy, urban development, forest management, skill development, agriculture and fisheries, healthcare capacity building for disaster resilience infrastructure, development of agro-industries, especially through SMEs, and tourism and cultural exchange. I am happy to reiterate that during the 14th India-Japan Annual Summit in March 2022, both sides announced a new initiative for sustainable development of Northeastern region of India. This is an overarching framework for enhancing cooperation in new areas such as healthcare, agro-industries, and disaster management. An important part of this new initiative is a program called Initiative for Strengthening Bamboo Value Chains in the Northeast, with the objectives of developing the region as a hub of innovation and design for bamboo-based products in collaboration with Japan. Friends, India regards Japan as its close and national partner. India-Japan special strategic and global partnership is based on the strong foundation of shared value of democracy, freedom, and respect for rules of law, and continues to respond to the challenges and opportunities of evolving times. Last year, we celebrate 70th anniversary for the establishment of India-Japan diplomatic relations, We are committed to strengthening our partnership on key issues such as trade and investment, climate change, health security, infrastructure, space, digital, industrial development, energy, critical and emerging technologies, and human resources. Strong partnership with Japan is a key pillar of India's Act East policy. It is a valued partner for our shared vision of the Indo-Pacific. Our policies towards the regions are based on the principle of Sagar, that is, for security and growth for all in the regions, and Indo-Pacific Ocean initiatives, and Japan's vision of free and open Indo-Pacific. Recent visit by the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to India on 20th March 2023 further demonstrated the growing strength of our bilateral relationship. In Prime Minister Kishida's speech delivered in India on future of Indo-Pacific, he talked of India's role as an indispensable partner in achieving Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific mission. He spoke of the importance of India-Japan cooperation in contributing to stability in Southeast Asia region. He also talked about the Japan's Bay of Bengal, Northeast India industrial value chains concept, which I understand will also be an important area of discussion in this conference. These references of India in Prime Minister Kishida's new vision of Indo-Pacific region clearly demonstrate the silence of our partnership in the Indo-Pacific region and the important role India-Japan relationship will play in the years to come. Our economic partnership is the key pillar of India-Japan relations. We have jointly set target to invest 5 trillion yen in public and private investment and financing in India over the next 5 years. Excellencies, as India has assumed the chair of G20 and Japan of G7 this year, it provides us an important opportunity for synergizing our shared imperatives. Excellencies, Japan is also an important development partner of Bangladesh. Synergizing the effort of the three countries is therefore a natural progression and a new enabler for development. Today, India-Bangladesh partnership is scaling new heights. This relationship enjoys unprecedented level of trust and confidence. This has resulted in shared commitment towards boosting connectivity of shared prosperity in both our countries. With a population of over 21 crores and complementary production base, Bangladesh and India's Northeast are much more than just next-door neighbors. Being geographically contiguous, they are natural market for each other. Northeast regions supply raw products such as coal, limestone, stone chips, and bamboo to Bangladesh. Its potential to export other products is increasing steadily. As Bangladesh also diversified its economy, the customer and businesses in Bangladesh will hugely benefit from more trade with the Northeast. While Bangladesh is India's largest trade partner in South Asia, India is Bangladesh's largest export destination in India. The two countries are also negotiating a comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement for greater economic cooperation and exchanges. Northeastern states important from Bangladesh is much higher than their export to Bangladesh. In last financial year, goods worth about rupees 650 crores were imported from Bangladesh through Agartala Akhora trading points. The volume of export was just about rupees 200 crores. Air connectivity within the Northeast India as well as with the rest of India has been tremendous progress with the international flight flow connecting Guwahati with Southeast and South Asia. It is fast becoming an aviation hub for the region. So with this, the values and the potential of the three countries, India, Japan, and Bangladesh, and by this platform created by the Confluence will give a positive response from all the countries, all the three countries, and the business partners will follow and get the benefit from this conference. With these few words, once again I thank you, the organizer, and Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you.
Now, may I request His Excellency Shahriar Alam to Foreign Minister of State, Bangladesh, to kindly make your brief remarks, please.
Thank you, Sabyasachi Datta, Excellency Minister, Honorable Minister of Development of Northeastern Region, Culture and Tourism, Sri Kishan Reddy, Excellency Ministers, Ambassadors, distinguished guests, both from Bangladesh and India, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and Assalamu alaikum, namaste. I'm absolutely delighted to be here at this fantastic historical city that is so close to our heart and history, Agartala, Tripura. At the outset, I would like to pay my deepest homage and respect to all the people and all the martyrs, both from Bangladesh and India, who laid down their lives for the independence of Bangladesh. And this city, this state of India, was one of the greatest hosts for over a year, and not only just that, before and after the independence, the state played a crucial role. I would like to pay my deepest respect to the founding father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and also to the deep tribute to the people of Tripura, especially who opened their homes and businesses for the people of Bangladesh and who were here to seek refuge, to flee the oppression and brutality of the occupant Pakistani forces. Coming back to today's event, sitting between two great friends of Bangladesh, and one of them surely qualifies to be the greatest, India and Japan. It's truly fascinating, and I would like to spend, and my delegation will be listening to all the deliberations over the course of this evening and tomorrow. But very quickly, I know Mr. Reddy have a flight to catch, and I do not stand between his present and upcoming commitments in the evening or tomorrow morning. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and Prime Minister Modi for almost for last over 10 years have achieved miracles for both Bangladesh and India. And it is becoming an example. Even though we have tried really hard to expand the achievements and benefit the rest of the region, but it's proving difficult. SARC, we have BIMSTEC, we have narrowed it down to BBIN, but even that one is also proving difficult. But when I assumed office 9 years ago, my Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina described our future plan with India. and her single line instruction was that we will take our connectivity to pre-65 days. And I know Ambassador Hiroshi Suzuki very charged up, and of course, we are grateful to the leadership of Japan, the subsequent Prime Minister especially, late Shinzo Abe, who was one of the closest friends of Bangladesh, and we miss him dearly. And achievements that we have made in our bilateral relationship also initiated, of course, was laid down during, again, in the history back in 1971 during the War of Liberation. But the physical embodiment and also the deliberations, and Bangladesh wasn't ready after 75. We have lost quite a few decades, but Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina made Bangladesh ready to do business, to talk about regional and global issues, and we have always found Japan by our side. But to the relatively newly arrived ambassador of Japan, I would like to assure him that we have almost achieved the pre-65 goals. In fact, we have expanded. Mr. Reddy will probably, given the time that he will have once I finish my long speech, is he himself just came back here. The reason of his delay, if I may just disclose that, went to see the expansion work of Bangladesh-India railway link that's expanding to Agartala and beyond. And it wasn't there during pre-65 days. So we are actually not just achieved or achieving pre-65 connectivity, we're expanding, and we want to expand further. So sky is the limit. And when it comes to India-Bangladesh relationship, nothing can stop us in achieving our aspiration, our common aspiration of 1.4 billion Indians and 170 million Bangladeshis. And I'm sure many other countries. I recently went to Africa and visited a couple of landlocked countries. And the moment I mentioned landlocked, I was politely reminded that they would love to be known as land-linked countries. And I think we are spreading that, coining that concept or rephrasing that rather negative connotation of landlocked to land-linked. And Bangladesh wants to be at the center of it, not just northeast countries that you mentioned, Bhutan and Nepal and beyond. Quite a few things due to the time constraint. I'll not go on and list down, but we have recently inaugurated another milestone project, which is known as Friendship Pipeline, India-Bangladesh Friendship Pipeline, through which India will be transporting its fuel from east to west, and in between Bangladesh is also being benefited. Same will be done or is being done, are being done in terms of electricity. And hope sometime in future we will have the same with natural gas or LNGs. So there are so many deliverables, so many that we have delivered. I was sharing with Mr. Suzuki, Hiroshi Suzuki, that since he came in relatively recently, that about Bangladesh's achievements, about India's achievements, but all the mega projects, if I may just read it out very quickly, the projects that we have undertaken, hardly any of this actually is ready as yet. I mean, one of them is 3.2 kilometer wide tunnel under the river Kondofuli, which is next to the Chittagong port. It's hopefully will be ready and delivered in next 1 year. So I don't have the exact date, but as you said, Matarbari will be ready by 2027. That's the deep sea port. But there are so many other things that Matarbari will bring to the fore. And our achievements in terms of security cooperation in the border with the Northeast, reactivating some of the missing links, both in terms of rail, road, and riverine. Very recently, there was a tourist boat that was initiated in Ganges and ended up in Guwahati in the region, and sailed through Bangladesh, which is first of its kind in last little over 75 years. But prior 1945, there were boats and multimodal connectivity between Kolkata and Yangon. And it was truly multimodal. It was boat, it was rail, it was bus, it was domestic travel as well. And during one of our Nodi festival, I'm sure Sabyasachi will recall that we actually displayed the tickets, the permit to get on those services back in those days. So, we have almost revived. What I was trying to say is, before we delivered Paira, before even we have delivered Padma Bridge, much talked about and well-known infrastructure for the developing world, despite all the odds. Before the third terminal, again with the Japanese help, even before the coal-based power plants or the other power plants that we are planning, the achievements of Bangladesh of 7% growth and becoming 35th largest economy in 2023, and the forecast suggests that by 2030, Bangladesh will become the 30th largest economy, will require a greater market and a greater connectivity. And that's what we are aspiring. I know, many would try and dig deep and, try and find a political dimension, how the geopolitics is going to play. But we probably have the simplest of the foreign policies, which is not very easy to practice, which is laid down by the founding father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And that is friendship to all, malice to none. It's very simple, but it's not easy to practice, especially in today's world. So in terms of Indo-Pacific, I know it's obviously one of the undoubtedly a core area of global politics, and its importance is ever increasing, considering its collective share in global GDP, preponderance in international trade, and growing technological dynamism. And we all know and love to claim that this is the Asian century. And we are proving that. Ambassador again referred to what was discussed in Davos this year. The one region that will continue to grow no matter what is Asia. And we, India and Bangladesh, sits right at the center of that. So the Indo-Pacific area is the key determinant for ensuring long-term prosperity of the South Asian region. And Bangladesh, as an active, interested, and responsible stakeholder of the region, envisions a free, open, peaceful, secure, and inclusive Indo-Pacific for shared prosperity for all, where Bay of Bengal is a major constituent. That goes without saying. And of course, on the other hand, I'd like to particularly thank, I've mentioned a couple of times already, Japan, Bangladesh's largest development partner and a common development partner in the region for both Bangladesh and India, and especially in the Pacific, I was told, for their persistent development cooperation to Bangladesh, particularly for the Bay of Bengal industrial growth belt known as Big B. And it was none other than Mr. Shinzo Abe who first tabled the idea. Initiative towards making Bangladesh into a regional road, rail, energy, logistic connectivity hub. The Big B would also substantially benefit this region as it focuses on economic connectivity, which complements India's Act East policy. And that's how, I think the region was waiting for long for a leadership like Sheikh Hasina and like Narendra Modi. And that's how we term the Sonali Odhai, the golden chapter of our journey. And it actist policies like Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, that's inclusivity. And that's what we love. That's what we have committed at the big stage of United Nations when you adopted 2030 SDG agendas. And I think there are a lot of things that we have talked about and suggested that needs to be done together. We'd love to hear from academics, the think tanks. We have players, secretaries and ambassadors, high commissioner, who were involved and who are still involved in the process. And we need to listen to them to understand how better we can achieve that. But in order to benefit from my part, from the lucrative potentials of connectivity ventures, I would like to highlight very quickly 5 areas and recommendations for you to consider. The political leadership, which is largely is present, but of course, India have states and you have, of course, central government. So the political leadership at all levels of the region need to be visionary about regional cooperation and collaboration. And we have found out in our SAARC forum that there are some countries where they could have done things slightly differently. Second, the way Bangladesh is open to allow her territory for use of our neighbors under its good neighborliness policy, Bangladesh expects that her neighbors reciprocate the sentiment to benefit her people. Third, developed countries and international financial institutions. Obviously, Japan is co-host of this event, and we are not suggesting this aiming you, but watching Japan, the other friendly countries should come forward and invest heavily for developing our infrastructures for seamless regional multimodal connectivity. Fourth, we need to redouble our efforts for early operationalization of the BIMSTEC master plan for transport and the BBIN motor vehicle agreement, which is just inch away for regularization of passengers, personal and vehicle. And fifth, for availing the benefits of connectivity in a sustainable manner, power and energy. Sixth, even though it's not printed here, we rather met Honorable Minister for Donor, Tourism and Culture last year, September in Delhi. We suggested that Bangladesh will be very happy to host all the government officials, development officials, ones who matters, especially chief ministers and his or her offices, to attend at least a 2 or 3 days long conclave in Bangladesh. So if I may humbly remind Honorable Minister Reddy to consider our open invitation to all the northeastern states to be in Dhaka for a day. So we listen from you, and your government, MEA, listens to you, the northeastern states, and we, from your aspirations, we know largely, what are your aspirations, but we will have our government officials in the audience from both the sides, and they will listen to you. So it will be a tri-party, it's largely 2 parties, but of course the states have their own challenges sometimes. And for a day, for the businesses to find out the potentials. I came in here, I have my university professor who is attending this program, and I was jokingly telling him that I came to Brahmanbaria but never came to Agartala, as if I'm considering 2 cities that belongs to the kind of same place. My hometown, my constituency takes, if I'm lucky, takes 6 hours. If I'm unlucky, it takes about, you can double it. But I came in to Agartala in just 3 hours drive, so it's much closer, and that's how we want to treat. It's not just a payback time for us for the fantastic contribution this city and this state has made, but it's for the future generation to invest for a greater and brighter shared prosperity. At the end, guided by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, we are advocating for inclusive, once again, development of the region for everyone. We need to grow together for peace and prosperous region. Therefore, I believe this conclave hosted by Sabyasachi and his fantastic team, and co-hosted by the government of Tripura and MEA, and a little bit of support from our end as well, would be able to rejuvenate all our visions in this regard, which will ultimately reinforce our efforts with renewed momentum. With this, I conclude. I thank you all. Joy Bangla. Joy Bangabandhu. May Bangladesh and India live forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It's a very exciting and inspiring speech. May I now request our Honorable Union Minister for Donor, Culture and Tourism, Shri Krishan Reddy ji, to kindly make your remarks, sir.
Namaskar to everyone. Good evening to one and all. In Modi government, my colleague, Honorable Minister of State, Minister of External Affairs, Sri Rajkumar Ranjan Singh ji, Honorable Foreign Minister of Bangladesh, His Excellency Shahriar Alam ji, His Excellency Ambassador of Japan, Mr. Hiroshi Suzuki, Industries Minister of Tripura State, Shantana Chakma ji, Executive Director, Asian Confluence, Sri Savyasachi Datta ji, Honorable Members of Governing Council, Asian Confluence, Senior Officers of Academicians from Japan and Bangladesh and India, and all the invitees in one of the important event. Friends, Northeast India occupies a unique geography connecting South and Southeast Asia, Himalayas to the north and very close to the Bay of Bengal in the south, covering 4,10,639 square kilometers and a combined population of around 220 millions. Northeast region is a natural economic area bound together by rich natural resources, mountains, rivers and sea. For a development of Northeast region, cooperation with the immediate neighbors such as Bangladesh is very important for both countries. I am happy to know the Asian Confluence, a think tank with a headquarters in the Northeast region, has been conducting a series of programs that highlights the central role of connectivity in development of Northeast region. These initiatives are extremely significant as we move towards attaining a vision of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, India's Act East policy and neighborhood first policies and Indo-Pacific vision. Friends, I am grateful to Japan, an important development partner for the Northeast region in particular and India as a whole. I understand that this is the third of a series of yearly intellectual Indian-Japan exchanges. So I eagerly look forward to the actionable outcomes of all the discussions and a plan to move ahead on them. In the last few years, there has been tremendous growth in the physical connectivity infrastructure of the Northeast, roads, rails, air, inland waterways, along with digital and power infrastructure. Under leadership of the Narendra Modi, in the last 9 years, more than 5 lakh crore have been spent towards the development of the Northeast region. World-class infrastructure development is taking place in this region with just 9 airports till 2014. Now we have 17 airports today, ready to boost tourism and easier mobility and development. Work of 1 lakh crores of road projects we completed, and more than 1.5 lakh crore works are ongoing. Over 77,000 crores worth of rail projects is ongoing in Northeast region. We are working on the target of complete teleconnectivity within 500 days in isolated area, hill areas, Himalayan areas, that is targeted by the end of 2023. Narendra Modi government has taken concrete steps under the Act East policy, and we are committed to a deep and mutual beneficial relationship with Bangladesh and Japan. And old railway links with Bangladesh are being revived to unlock the people-to-people and trade connectivity with Bangladesh. Just this afternoon, I have visited and reviewed Agartala Akhora rail line project, which with engineers and officers today, which is a key component of India Act East policy. Further, with allocation of 4,800 crores, a vibrant village program was yesterday launched by the Honorable Home Minister Shri Amit Shah ji from Arunachal Pradesh. A part of these bilateral connectivity initiatives like the Kaladan multimodal project, the inland water transport protocol with Bangladesh, by which 19 national waterways of Northeast have been connected to the Indo-Bangla inland water transport protocol routes. Agreement on using Chittagong and Mangla ports etc. of Bangladesh will further strengthen the region connectivity with neighboring countries, but also with the ASEAN and global market behind. Development of both countries, Bangladesh and India, our closest neighbor and ally. We also need to build economical corridors with our connectivity between the state of Northeast region, also with the neighbors. Friends, with this, I would be achieved by recognizing our shared bonds and cultural and history and building further on the connectivity. I hope this meeting will further roadmap for closerly work together for both countries' benefit in connecting all angles. Wishing this conference, this Asian Confluence of support in such a nation building activity. I once again, because I want to catch the flight to go to Bangalore, tomorrow there is a International Hoteliers Association conference. Friends, once again, I sorry to coming late and going before, because I went to Bangladesh border to inspect Agartala, the Akora rail link project. That's why I came late. And once again, I congratulate all the organizers, and also I thanks the Ambassador of His Excellency Japan, and Foreign Minister of His Excellency from Bangladesh, and other all dignitaries. Thank you once again, and best wishes to the conference. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much. I know you have time constraints. We'll just take 2 more minutes, and we would like to release a report. A lot of hard work, field visits, stakeholder visits have gone in to the preparation of this draft report. Please accept a copy of this report, and we would like to quickly have a release of this report by all the esteemed dignitaries on the stage. I'd also like to invite the honorable members of the Governing Council of Asian Confluence, Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia, Ambassador Deepa Gopalan Wadhwa, Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das, and also the former Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh, Shahidul Haq sir, to come on stage for a photo op with this report. And Mr. Ajay Sethi, of course, Honorable Member of the Governing Council of Asian Confluence.
Ladies and gentlemen, a report on assessing connectivity between Northeast India, Bangladesh towards the prosperous Bay of Bengal region is released by Honorable Excellencies on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, with this release of report and a group photo, our first inaugural sessions ends here. We will have a small tea break, and after this tea break, we will have our next session, which will be a discussion session.
There'll be a 5-minute interlude, and with the next session would start immediately.
Respected guests, we'll have a 5-minute tea break, and after the 5-minute tea break, we'll have our next session, which will be a discussion session. So I would request after the tea break, kindly be here for the next session. Thank you. Once again, I will request our esteemed dignitaries from Japan, Bangladesh and India to please come inside and take your respective seats as we are going to start the panel discussion very soon. And ladies and gentlemen, for this panel discussion, we will be having on the stage Dr. Praveer De, Dr. Salim Rehan, Dr. Kazutoshi Tamari, and Mr. Kentaro Oita. And to chair this session, we will be having Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das, Honorable Member Governing Council, Asian Conference. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I request you to please take your respective seats. We are going to start the panel discussion very soon. Respected dignitaries, we are having our panelist for the discussion session with us, Dr. Praveer De, Professor, Research and Information System for Developing Countries, New Delhi, Dr. Salim Rehan, Professor, Department of Economics, University of Dhaka, Bangladesh, and Executive Director of SANEM. We are having with us our panelist, Dr. Kazutoshi Tamari, Associate Professor, Graduate Schools of Economics, Chukoyo University. And we are also having our panelist, Mr. Kentaro Orita, Counselor, Political Session, Embassy of Japan, New Delhi. And to chair this session, we are having with us our chairperson for this session, Ambassador Riva Ganguly, Honorable Member Governing Council of Asian Confluence. Now, may I request our Honorable Member Governing Council, Asian Conference, Ambassador Riva Ganguly ma'am, to felicitate our panelists on the dais with Uttariya. We are welcoming Mr. Kentaro Orita, Counselor, Political Session, Embassy of Japan, New Delhi. We are felicitating Dr. Kazutoshi Tamari, Associate Professor, Graduate School of Economics, Chukoyo University. Now we're felicitating Dr. Salim Rehan, Professor, Department of Economics, University of Dhaka. And last but not the least, we're felicitating Professor, Research Information System of Developing Countries, Dr. Praveer De. Now, I would request our chairperson, Honorable Member Governing Council Asian Conference, Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das ma'am, for the further proceedings.
Good evening. We are running late, so this is an half an hour session. So since we are starting at about 7:05, we try and finish by 7:35. The tone for this intellectual conclave has already been set by what the dignitaries said at the earlier session, so I wouldn't really like to repeat what they've said. Some of the people who have done the groundwork, who have actually done the field work, are right here with us. We would very much like to hear from them what their experience has been. We heard from our dignitaries a lot about connectivity just now. And we know that, India, Bangladesh have a very long border, and this used to be an integrated economic whole. Partition in 1947 sort of deprived the northeastern states of the natural connections, some of the natural links and connectivity that they had been enjoying for centuries. And now with the relationship that is developing between India and Bangladesh, I think much of the connectivity is, as we heard in the previous session, the pre-65 connectivity has been established, and we've gone beyond that. Excellent political relations between India and Bangladesh have resulted in cooperation across all sectors, be it economic, trade, science, space, energy, defense. And this has opened a Shonali Adhyay, or a golden chapter in our relationship. Enhanced connectivity and the tremendous growth of India and Bangladesh has been one of the driving force of this relationship. The projects from rail, road, inland waterways to ports, they have been energized. They are in the late stages of implementation in many cases. Bangladesh can take advantage of its strategic location near the northeast, which is a gateway to Southeast Asia, as Minister mentioned earlier. And this can eventually help in the economic integration of the region and lead to growth and development of the region. India's Act East policy and India's neighborhood policy both converge in this region. We have the panel discussion now is about the report, which was just unveiled a little while back. I have looked through the report a little bit. I think it's very comprehensive. It's based on field work. The report is an outcome of consultation with a large number of stakeholders. So without standing in between, you and the panelists, may I request first the authors and those who've done the groundwork to start. May I request all of you to speak for between 4 to 5 minutes. Professor Dey, if we can start with you. Whatever you want.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and my co-panelists, and also to Asian Confluence and the organizers for the invitation. And in particular, I'm thankful to Orita-san, the report which was released in earlier session. So there is no hesitation to acknowledge that he's the man behind, encouraging us, and many others, of course, So, Madam Chair said the 5 minutes, what I'm going to do. There is a team who worked behind it, and it is not just a report for the sake of a report. We worked, my role was basically in advising, almost about 6 months. We visited Bangladesh extensively, Tripura, Northeast, several consultations. So this report is not exactly, kind of a desk best. There are 11 chapters, and I'm sure organizers will make it available for your comments, so that it's a draft report. Would like to get it, finalized, and finally it will be available. Now, if I may add some of the outcomes or the way forward from the study. With me, there are also other scholars who worked, like Komal Biswal, Omar Rad, Chaudhary, and many others, who are also attending to this conference. Now, what we have seen that the Bangladesh economy will be elevating to about $1 trillion by early next decade. Northeastern region states will also be growing. So also the Indian economy is aiming for about a 15 trillion by the middle of the next decade. Now, Bangladesh, as you know, there's the challenge that Honorable Minister said that they are going to elevate to developing world. As you know that once they come out from LDC status, they're going to face many challenges. One of them, that they won't be able to get trade concessions which they enjoy now in the form of GSP Plus from 2026 onward. So Bangladesh, to sustain their growth and to run the economy, the 7% to 8%, and target is the $1 trillion, the GDP size, they need a faster, efficient port facility. And that is why the Japanese government and Bangladesh government together, they decided to build this Matarbari deep sea port. Port is a kind of an exogenous, and economists will tell, that is, you cannot change the geography. But fortunately, that point in the Matarbari, we visited there is a deep channel so that the bigger vessels carrying 5,000 containers, they can come. Next 20 years, the ports in the Bay of Bengal, if you count West Bengal, part of India, and Bangladesh as well, Matarbari is going to enjoy the benefit of a deep sea port. That's what they call DSP. Most of the ports are getting silted, and we cannot help much. So this port has an implications, regional implications, not just for Bangladesh. And the port, if you develop, if you cannot leave it in empty, you need to bring economy in the neighborhood as a part of it. So it grows, earns revenue, it gets back to the economy, etc., etc. So we looked at this in very detailed, technically, through the modeling Dr. Raihan did, and general equilibrium modeling based on the social accounting matrix in chapter 7. So what are the key outcomes? One is that we have suggested that northeastern region and Bangladesh connectivity in a comprehensive manner. Ambassador Suzuki, in his speech, he reminded that connectivity and the value chain, two different things, but mutually exclusive. So, of course, from the supply side, if you put the connectivity in place, the value chain will emerge. And here, Japanese companies, they're waiting to invest. So when, by which year, we do not know, but we are thinking that it will be soon, I'm sure. There are all great Japanese companies, organizers who are attending it, they know it very well. So in this study, we looked at that opportunities and side by side the challenges, particularly in the terms of reference given to this study as an advisory, honorary advisory role. What I looked at, that there are many challenges for northeastern region, Bangladesh. Together they can deal better in the BMSTEC context, BBIN, and in the bilaterally. I conclude that what's two takeaway is important. What's Honorable Minister of State, External Affairs, he said kind of a reciprocity in his 5 recommendations. Point 2 was the reciprocity. What Bangladesh is going to get out of it? Bangladesh is getting the market, Northeast, and using Northeast, the trilateral highway that India is setting up all the way to ASEAN. Bangladesh needs many, many free trade agreements. Dr. Raihan is a part of many such study programs. 2026 or 27, when the port will be operational, Bangladesh, Japan, SEPA, most likely if it goes on schedule, it will be negotiated. Japan, India, SEPA already implemented, 10 years completed. They are thinking to renew it. And Bangladesh, India, SEPA joint studies completed. Dr. Raihan is also part of it. So what is exactly going to happen? And they follow each other, By 26 or maybe by this, towards the end of this decade, 3 areas will be in a free trade area because of they are signing bilaterals. And there we need this kind of a super infrastructure like port, highway, etc., etc. In a beautiful paper done by Mr. Chattopadhyay from ADB and Sanchita, they looked at going into minute details, what kind of infrastructure, facilities, connectivity is required by this zone, and we have highlighted, worked on that. So, I mean, I conclude by telling that, by saying that this report, we have a stakeholder perceptions, and it is the stakeholders, we picked up their mind and incorporated quite extensively. Madam Chair also mentioned that. And some of the recommendations we highlighted here is that there are some restrictions. Bangladesh FDI cannot come here. Bangladesh has imposed port restrictions for export from Agartala to there. So there are many bilateral hitches. I think those need to be cleaned up. This is point one. For the development of the entire regions. Then we suggested that let there be, because Sabrum is coming up as the big gateway, and the Cox's Bazar, Matarbari, Chattogram, Ramgarh, Sabrum, Agartala, Silchar, Imphal, More, Tamu, then all the way to ASEAN, for which Bangladesh is looking for a bilateral FTAs with all the ASEAN countries. This is going to happen, if not tomorrow, maybe very soon. So those kind of an architecture we discussed here. We suggested that let there be a joint economic zone, at Sabrum, and Sabrum is coming at a very, very large way, special economic zone, railway yard. Sabrum has coming up with Asia's largest railway yard, an International Buddhist University, ICP. And I'm sure many things will emerge, once ultimately, the port and the linkages starts opening officially. CEO forum, state level, last word that what we discussed here, that if we need to do something very seriously high-speed corridor between Kolkata, Dhaka, Agartala, like that. And we have come out of the incentive age. If you look at in India's recently announced foreign trade policy, it is all about remission, which is WTO compliant. Bangladesh has also coming out of incentives. More, it is a remission. You export $10, you claim $5 from me. So that remission arrangement, we call it in India called PIL, production link incentives. And most of the Japanese companies, they are benefiting out of it. So something like innovative scheme we have also suggested here. And I'm sure you will enjoy. This is, it is not a report in a way, it is also a reference book. And I'm sure many of the young scholars who are doing their master's or MPhil or PhD, they will also get benefited out of it. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you, Dr. De. May I request Dr. Kazutoshi Tamari to say a few words?
Good evening, thank you, Chair. And I come from academia, so I received the long diplomatic greetings. And my major in international relations, and I'm working on the major power politics in the Indo-Pacific region. So I'm not good at the development and economic issues. And therefore, I'd like to emphasize the importance of this project from a broader perspective of international relations of Japan. This connectivity project is a part of the Free and Open Indo-Pacific, FOIP, of Japan, as you know. And it was a key element in Prime Minister Kishida's new FOIP policy speech delivered last month in Delhi. While now the Japanese government doesn't call the FOIP a strategy, now it is called vision. But in fact, it's a strategy. It's a grand strategy for Japan. Still now, in my understandings. As a Belt and Road Initiative is the grand strategy for China, ours is the FOIP. This project is so important, not only for the people of Bangladesh and Northeast region of India, but also for Japan in this regard. I point out two reasons. First, Japan is reconstructing its supply chain. We have been dependent so much on China previously, but we can no longer depend on China. Only 5 years ago, the situation was so different. Tokyo was trying to improve its relationship with Beijing at that time. So Tokyo stopped calling the FOIP a strategy but vision in that year, 2018, the latter half of the year. But Beijing is becoming increasingly assertive, unfortunately. And the Xi Jinping regime will continue more 5 or 10 years at least, I guess. So we cannot rely on China in terms of economic security. Japan needs alternative supply chain in this Indo-Pacific region. Second, Japan needs to build trust and presence in South Asia region. At this moment, unfortunately, Japan is relatively declining in the world economy. On the other hand, South Asia is gaining more importance economically and politically. Therefore, Japan wants to build its presence here in South Asia before it declines more. This project, this connectivity project is a special occasion for Japan because it wouldn't not be possible for other major countries. We cannot imagine Indian government to invite US or China, of course China, to this region, this connectivity project. And now India has sufficient resources. And so sometimes India does not want financial assistance from other countries, including Japan. But this project is different. I think only Japan can come between India and Bangladesh. So this is a big chance for Japan. And lastly, I'd like to make a very short comment on the report itself. This is an excellent work of showing the potential of the project. But it seems to me that attention needs to be paid, more attention needs to be paid to the local society and communities. And there is one chapter, of course, there is one chapter in the report on stakeholders' perceptions. It's excellent, but also perceptions of the local ordinary people, not only economic political elites, must be important. Without their support, we will face some difficulty. Efforts will be necessary to gain broad support from very diverse population in this region. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Tamari. May I now request Mr. Raihan to please say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think after listening to Dr. Probit there, especially the way he introduced that report, I have little to add actually to that, to the discussion. But I just thought of highlighting 2 or 3 points. One is that when you read the report, we need to keep in mind the bigger picture. Why we are doing this, why we actually got into writing this report. The bigger picture is that the Bangladesh and India cooperation has been very successful. We heard about this in the inaugural session. And now we got that kind of triangular cooperation involving Japan as one of the major developing partners. So I think this is the great opportunity for 3 countries to collaborate and gain much out of this cooperation. So this is the bigger picture. So we need to be convinced, and I'm convinced, we authors were convinced, and I'm congratulating Sabyasachi Datta for bringing this report in an excellent way. So I think this should be widely read and disseminated. Second one, when I look at the bigger picture, I find the role of Bangladesh as a very prominent role. Because if you look at South Asia, overall South Asia, probably Bangladesh is not at the center, but if you look at this part of the world, Bangladesh, Northeast, and Northeast part of India, and then Japan coming here as one of the largest business partner, investment partner, I can see the role of Bangladesh to be a major decisive role in terms of taking this cooperation agenda forward. So while coming here this morning, I felt it probably more than anything I did in the past. When it comes to development on the both sides, especially in terms of infrastructure and other areas, we need to do at a kind of at the level where two sides match to each other. So this is one, and that's why we highlighted the point, the development of Matarbari deep sea port as an example how the role of Bangladesh can be very instrumental in energizing the development process and regional cooperation process in this region. I'm not getting into the details of that exercise because you will read that exercise, and that the realization of Matarbari deep sea port will not only benefit Bangladesh, but it will also benefit other parts of this region. My final point is that while looking at the report, while you go through this chapters by chapter and look at different components of it, I request you to highlight or look at look at three major areas. One is that when you look at the challenges, there are many policy level challenges still. We still need to work on how we can coordinate at the policy levels, harmonization of the policies. That's still, I think, we need to work quite a lot on that. Second is that though Bangladesh and India, and especially India is investing quite a lot on infrastructure and connectivity. Bangladesh is also trying to catch up, but still a lot of things need to be done in terms of infrastructural development and connectivity. And especially, I think one important area is that many of the projects get delayed. They are not timely completed. So I think those things need to be seriously taken care of. And my final point is that when you look at the challenges, there are many procedural level challenges where you don't really see them on papers. On papers, probably things are very nice, but at the procedural level, at the ground level, realities are very different. How do we deal with those ground level realities? How we solve those ground level realities? I think these are serious challenges where we really need to work together and come up with the best possible solutions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and thank you for being so crisp and brief. May I now request Mr. Kentaro Orita to say a few words?
Thank you. Well, on behalf of the embassy, I just wanted to give some brief words to the excellent and comprehensive work done by Pravirji and Dr. Selim. Well, actually, this report creates a very comprehensive foundation for the concept that Prime Minister Kishida laid out to take form for this concept in the Bay of Bengal region. So it is my belief that while the political initiative will shape a common direction to be followed by relevant stakeholders and create a momentum for that, the academics can create a path and guide us toward the goal, pointing out where the traps and holes are, or which will be the shortcut to attain the goal. So as such, I believe academic contribution will be indispensable to advance this concept. I strongly hope a lot of studies will follow this report, either affirmative or critical, and these studies will create even stronger foundation to get this concept forward. Also important, I think, is policy advocacy and public relations. So many people in the rest of the world still maybe haven't realized the huge potential of this region. 300 million of population, including a huge mass of young talent, and one of the most densely populated areas on this planet. So, and also great market as well as industrial bases. So we believe that Bay of Bengal can literally become the center of gravity in the Indo-Pacific in this century, not only geographically but economically too. So research can only back up this, prediction. And at the same time, this huge potential could also turn into a risk if we fail to create enough jobs or enough industries in this area. Hence, again, the concept of the industrial value chain has a lot of relevance, I think. In this sense, attracting investment, especially foreign investment to this region, will be the key. So promoting academic discussion will raise the awareness among private sector for this region, and also provide a prescription for government or local authorities to attract such investment or FDI. So with that, I really admire the contribution of Prabirji and Dr. Selim drafting and compiling this huge study. And we hope this report will create a trend where many studies will follow and help the Bay of Bengal studies will become the mainstream in the Indo-Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is absolutely wonderful. We've got 3 minutes. And I think I want to open the floor for at least 1 or 2 questions. If anybody has a question. Yes, ma'am. Can somebody give a mic to her? Please also introduce yourself.
Strabuni Rai Chaudhary from JNU. I just about had a look at your executive summary. So from what I read out here, could you just give 3 major reasons for stakeholders' problem with respect to the initiative? Why I'm interested is basically because CEPA between India and Japan, there have been lots of issues, though we have a 10 years of this agreement. We've not had great outing as far as trade goes. So what are the stakeholders' key issues when they were questioned about this initiative? Thank you.
Thank you. If there's any other question, then we'll club the 2 together. There's another question. Please pass the mic to the gentleman. And that's all. We can't take any more questions. Who will proceed?
Good evening. My name is Pinaki Ranjande and from Pinarmo Consulting. I have a couple of very quick questions, like can I get where do we get the link of this report so that we can read the whole report? Is it possible for us?
I'm sure Asian Confluence will be able to answer that, right?
Okay. The other is like when we are talking about, of course, without reading the report is very difficult to ask a question, but still then, when we talk about this value chain and some place, then what kind of a value chain is it? Is it only the industrial value chain, or also we talk about the SMEs or the impact organizations, IOs, because Northeast is full of like those smaller organizations, right? And another quick question, what's your experience about the impact on the value chain, and how was it covered during the pandemic? How did it impact, and how can we have?
Okay. Thank you. I think that's we might need a full session to discuss that. I think value chains is interesting, and I personally thought that you're focusing on value chains was very important in this particular report. Prabir, would you like to reply to very briefly, as we are running short of time?
Thank you. Well, in the stakeholder discussion, our focus more about industrial value chain and the connectivity relations between northeastern region of India and Bangladesh. CEPA between India and Japan didn't come in a large way in the discussion. But we looked at the CEPA challenges, issues as a part of the study. On the trade side, I just give a brief reply, and Professor Roy Chaudhary, you are aware of it, that on the current account, we have a deficit, there is no doubt, because we actually the net importer. But from the capital account, we are the gainer, because we get huge investment, FDI from Japan. And Japanese FDI, if I may say, again, very generic term, this needs more micro-level foundation discussion. we get the technology from the Japan, and as well as many inspirations, to doing the business. So in short, this study had very little scope about discuss about India, Japan, SEPA, but in the stakeholders part. But in the study, we looked at our bilateral trade relations in a large way. Sure, that much I can tell you, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dey. I think we've completely run out of time. May I take this opportunity to thank both of you and all of you for sharing your thoughts with us. I think this is an important report which looks at many aspects of our cooperation, and it also explores how future connectivity projects like Matarbadi, which we heard is going to be operational by 27, can help in integrating the region further. I think also the report, from whatever I've seen, does highlight some of the challenges. Both the speakers have mentioned about the challenges, the policy level challenges, the harmonization issue, and we know that these things exist and policymakers have to look at it. I hope policymakers will also have a look at the report, which is very comprehensive. Thank you all, and with that we come to the end of the group photo.
Thank you so much, panelists and our Honorable Chair, ma'am, for the session. Ladies and gentlemen, our first panel discussion session ends here. We will take few minutes to set the stage for our next session. Respected dignitaries, one more announcement. The report which has been released from the stage is now live on the Asian Confluence website. So anyone, if they want to check the release report, they can directly go to the Asian Confluence website and check it. Excellencies, esteemed dignitaries from 3 countries. Now, we will start our next session, which will be a signature conversation on India, Japan and Bangladesh in the Bay of Bengal, a new horizon. For that, I would like to request our panelists on the dais, Professor Sahidul Haq, Bhagabandhu, Chair Professor, Delhi University, Dr. Sumit Seth, Joint Secretary, PPNR, Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Takeo Konishi, Country Director, Asian Development Bank on the stage. And I would also like to request a chair for this session, Honorable Member Governing Council Asian Confluence, Her Excellency Ambassador Deepa Gopalan Vadhwa Madam on the stage.
So, can you hear me? I think is the mic working? So we have this, what's called a signature conversation. It's India, Japan and Bangladesh in the Bay of Bengal, New Horizons. And what we are going to do is really, we've heard a report and we've heard a lot of the specifics now as to what can be done. We've had very eminent speakers in the inaugural session talking about their vision for India, Bangladesh, Japan cooperation in the Bay of Bengal. But here what we're trying to do is we're trying to locate the larger framework for this Bay of Bengal. What is this concept? What is this importance that has been given to this Bay of Bengal and the larger framework of cooperation in this area, which is not only limited to the three countries that we're talking about, certainly India, Bangladesh, and with Japan as a partner, an important partner, but also I think the larger areas. So we're looking at other, you have other groupings like BIMSTEC and so on, which have been mentioned earlier, which have been in this area. Now, we have a very eminent panel with us. We have Professor Shahidul Haq, Bangabandhu Chair Professor, Delhi University. We have Dr. Sumit Seth, who's Joint Secretary, PPNR, Ministry of External Affairs. PPNR stands for Policy Planning and Research. It's one of the most important divisions of the Ministry of External Affairs, and I can think of no one better than him who can really explain the larger framework of cooperation that we're talking about and the new horizons. And then we have, these are two representatives from the two countries, and then we have Mr. Takio Kunishi, Country Director, Asian Development Bank. And since it is a multilateral sort of an organization which is in some ways within quotes neutral, I think we will see another perspective which is also important to be brought into this dialogue. Now, just to begin with, when you talk about the subject, about the Bay of Bengal itself, the whole concept, I mean, this is an area, I must say, which was, if you look historically in our region, it was an area of a lot of activity from millennia. There was trade, there was movement of people, there was movement of ideas. If you look into the history of this region, this was a very, very busy waterway. And this perhaps continued for a long period of time. We see also larger integration, economic integration in the period before 1947, when I think both sides of this bay, in a way, in terms of Myanmar, as known as Burma, and India, Bangladesh, we were in a different political configuration as part of a colony of the British Empire, and therefore in many ways far more integrated than we are today. We have heard about, 1947 certainly was one watermark, but I think another was 1965. We heard this date of 1965 mentioned several times, I think in the earlier session, and to say that the integration, the connectivity that was there pre-1965, what we're trying to do is to restore it, and as a matter of fact, we got a very positive statement actually to say that we have perhaps in many ways gone beyond that. Now, why is all this happening? Because there are several reasons. One is, of course, the importance of this area itself. The importance of the area, I've seen articles which call it the heart of the Indo-Pacific, and the heart of the free and open Indo-Pacific policy, because it is really the place where the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean sort of converge. It's also an area which carries about 40% of the trade of this area, that is including important products such as energy products, resources which go from the Middle East all the way up to Japan and beyond. So there's importance of this region to trade. There's an importance of this region to resources, because it is really a place with a lot of supposedly unexplored hydrocarbon resources which are there. Fishing is very important in this area, so it's got its economic importance. It is also an area which is very ripe for economic development. It hosts a very large population. In fact, they say about a fourth of the population of the world are in these countries around the Bay of Bengal. So the Bay of Bengal, in many ways, including the strategic aspects, the security aspects, it has become a very important region. As economic activities, Asia becomes kind of the hub of economic activity in the globe. So this is the importance of the Bay of Bengal. And what we're trying to do is being able to leverage it. Bangladesh, India, we have our own policies, and I'm going to ask, I think, the speakers on both sides of me to talk about their respective positions, representing what their countries believe is the importance of the Bay of Bengal to them. And then I think the focus really what we should be looking at is the new horizons. We got a lot of ideas this morning. I think there was a lot of enthusiasm for what the future should look at in terms of infrastructure, in terms of connectivity, in terms of certainly what Prime Minister Kishida said, the new industrial value chains which he sees in this region. And he specifically mentioned this region, as you know, during his speech recently in New Delhi in March when he talked about the new free and open Indo-Pacific policy of Japan. So with these few introductory words, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, Dr. Sumit Seth, to talk about, first of all, what is the importance of the Bay of Bengal in the overall framework of India's foreign policy that you particularly deal with in what you do, and also to speak about this region as a converging point of several important policy initiatives of India, you know, such as the Act East policy, our own FOIP, and so on. So if you could just elaborate on that a bit, Sumit.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving me the first right to basically break the ice here. And I was very happy when you expanded the full form of PPNR, policy planning and research. But it is also important for me, being the head of policy planning division of the Ministry of External Affairs, to give you more in-depth glimpse of what policy planning does. And that actually will dovetail into the questions which you have asked. Policy planning division, essentially, the motto of policy planning is connecting the dots. And how do we connect the dots is we need to collect the dots. And this is a collecting the dots exercise when we support events like these. And the idea was to take the discourse on foreign policy beyond New Delhi. We wanted to understand how people in the Northeast, how people in Tripura, how people in Agartala are looking at India's foreign policy. When we talk about Act East policy sitting from Delhi, how it is perceived here. So that is the whole idea of this. And we are hopeful that by the end of this 2 days discussion, we were able to collect sufficient dots. And then we are going to connect it back when I sit in my office with my team to create a policy memo or a policy paper or something which can be used by our decision makers to implement on this. Let me give you a sense, or I can give you a list of initiatives Government of India has taken, the Ministry of External Affairs has taken, but I thought I'll address to your question more differently. I'll give you a more of a strategic plan, how do we deal with it? What is India's approach to the Indo-Pacific? India's approach to the Indo-Pacific is essentially starts from neighborhood first. And neighborhood first is where, Bay of Bengal region also comes in. And it has essentially various elements, and you have probably read about it and so on, the classical 5 C's, but I'm going to talk about the 6th C of India's neighborhood first policy. Incidentally, my division is also the nodal division for India's neighborhood first policy, because we have a division which deals with Bangladesh, Myanmar, Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc., and we have Indian Ocean region. But one division where everything converges, junction box of ideas, is policy planning. So the 6th C I'm going to talk about is the 5 C's, just to recap. The first is cultural and civilization linkages in this region, in the neighborhood. And I'm talking specifically about India, Bangladesh, and the Bay of Bengal region. Connectivity is another important C in our neighborhood first policy. As you know that this region became one of the least integrated because the way you mentioned in 1947, the partition was done. And partition was done by a group of people sitting in a drawing room where they draw lines, cutting, the age-old civilizational linkages, bonds, and that led to this region becoming, and the politics of that. But solving the connectivity problem itself will not solve the full problem. What we'll do after connectivity? Just not physical connectivity. We are now working towards other forms of connectivity, financial connectivity, digital connectivity, connectivity in terms of energy. There are pipelines, there is power trading happening, and so on. So that's the 3rd C. So first C is civilization and cultural bonds. connectivity, but connectivity leads to ultimately to commerce. The third C is commerce. There is a age-old saying in geopolitics, flags follows the ships, which means political relations follow ships is a symbol of trade, commerce, where there is increasing interdependence. So that's commerce has to take place between this. But commerce will also take place when we also work on the fourth C, which is called capacity building. Capacity building where we share our knowledge, learn from each other in this region, and the last C, very important, I would say, is community to community, people to connectivity. These are the 5 classical C's, but the 6th C, which I am going to, this is inherently a complex region. Complexity because of, disintegration in terms of the various railway lines got, disconnected. Now we are working towards it. As Minister of State mentioned, that the trust and confidence it has created. Now Bangladesh is letting transit of goods. There is, people can use the waterways, for example, from Varanasi, and there was the longest river cruise which took place. So that complexity is there. And there is also asymmetry, because the size of India, the size of geography also determines this. So we need to deal with this. Coming back to the specific question on the Bay of Bengal, this is a classical triangle which we need to work on, Japan, Bangladesh, India. And not just these countries, Nepal, Bhutan, as somebody mentioned, it's a land-locked region. We need to make it land-linked region. And the key to unlocking this landlocked region is Bay of Bengal, through which we can work. So India's neighborhood first policy, India's Act East policy, they both actually converge in northeast of India. And this is a gateway through which prosperity will come in the whole region. Countries alone cannot develop in isolation. The whole region grows together. And we are happy that Japan has invested in terms of ideas, in terms of intellectual investment in this region, and also the financial investment. And this is a constant endeavor on part of us to work towards in this minilateral. These days, minilaterals work better than plurilateral and multilateral setups. So I think we need to focus on this. I'll stop here for a while. Maybe we can come back, ma'am, and when you ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumit. That I think is very interesting. We take away a few things that you say. And that is, I like this word. I think when we heard about the Honorable Minister, His Excellency Sher Alamji had talked about this land-linked. And I think you mentioned that's really nice, rather than being landlocked, and the benefits that they are. And you talked about the 5 or the 6 C's, which are probably the areas for cooperation in developing this larger framework in this region. I would now turn to you, sir. So Professor Shahidul Haq, what do you see as the larger framework of this in this region, and how it can be beneficial? One, as we work bilaterally, Bangladesh and India, and as everyone said, we're seeing the best phase in our relations ever, which have always been close. And plus, we have with us a partner, a very trusted partner in Japan. We also heard today how we are beneficiaries in the sense of that we are the #1 and 2 largest ODA recipients from Japan. And I must mention one thing, having dealt with Japan myself, what is special about Japan, which sets it apart from other countries, is that Japan works with the countries in accordance with their priorities. And this is what really has made it a very trusted partner of India, even in areas which are sensitive to us, such as the Northeast, as people are aware, or say the Andamans, because it is a country that works very closely in coordination with us. All the probably stars in the
Good. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, distinguished panelists,
I've been sort of asked to look at the bigger picture. So in order to look at the bigger picture, we need to also then look at what was before there. I'm talking about 7.5 decades back. This area, east in northeast of India, Bangladesh and Bay of Bengal, was as I read, it's a very integrated space. To avoid any controversy, I'm using the word space. And in that space, there wasn't political borders, which was imposed subsequently in 1947, and more restrictive way after 1965 war between India and Pakistan. So that's one reality. The other one is why this area is so talked about. Is it something new? Certainly not. If you look at the history, when the Indian was under the British Raj, there were two areas which produced most of the wealth for the British. One, undivided Punjab. The other one, undivided Bengal, which was basically this region, including West Bengal. So that's what. When it stopped creating wealth is 1935. Why? Very interesting record. Lord Curzon, writing to the then British king, that if you want to continue ruling India, then we need to make sure that this region that we are talking about is no longer united, because they give a huge political challenge to the Raj. And hopefully Lord Curzon got a message that do whatever is need to be done to continue to run. And that is the beginning of the fragmentation that we are talking about, the disconnect that we are talking about. And it was in many layers. Now, congratulations to Dr. Prabir and also to Selim Rahan for putting together a very interesting paper. Technically, it's very good. I have certain observation which I'll share with you later. But before that, since we are talking about the bigger picture, is it the first time that we are trying to sort of create a functional, integrated area? No. In fact, if I remember correctly, and I was thinking this morning, when was the first attempt made? It was during 96-97. During 96 and 97, there was a proposal supported by ADB called South Asian Growth Quadrangle. And that was a fascinating idea, because at that time we remembered that Southeast Asia was experimenting various kind of a triangle and quadrangle, and very successful. So ADB thought that we could create something like that in this region. At that time, it wasn't Bay of Bengal, but the rest. In 2 years' time, the whole idea fizzled out. Why? Before I answer the question why, there was another initiative which still reverberates in our integration literature, that was floated 3-4 years later, which is called South Asian Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation, which is SASEC. Very important, a lot of enthusiasm. It fizzled out. Now, taking these two major initiatives and thinking as to what went wrong, why it couldn't be successful when ASEAN were making a major breakthrough in a similar fashion. Now, as I read, and I may be wrong, wanted to be corrected, that these were state-led international organization-supported initiatives. People weren't there. The people's participation weren't there. People didn't understand actually what these state-led international organizations supported initiatives were. Now, that brings me to the debate that Northeast region people, 300 million, as Ambassador Suzuki suggested, Bangladesh, including West Bengal, and Bay of Bengal has a very unique, even a peculiar dynamics and a culture. And I think if anybody has understood this, the British has understood this. So, what I'm suggesting, that if we want to really make a similar initiative successful, we have to get the people involved right from the beginning. Now, how do you know, we always, as a civil servant for 35 years, we talk about people's participation and people not to be seen anywhere in our initiatives and projects. So we have to find out as to how we get the people take decision, especially of this region, and take this forward. Now, there's also a kind of a very strange characteristics of the people of this region. They are very attached to the environment. They feel that they have been sent to this land to protect the heritage, the environmental heritage. So that's the other thing that we need to consider. In the past, and as I read some of the projects that was brought in, they thought it will be detrimental to their environment. So they opposed it at various levels, in various manifestations. So that's something we have to take into consideration. What is the second one? Is the culture. When we do these kinds of artificial integration, we should be very sensitive about culture. And we are not talking about a monolithic culture here. It's not monolithic. Not sociologically, not religiously. It's very different. And they have different ethos and practices. Now, how do you bring that into one cohesive frame to implement your project? So that's something also. So environment and then culture. I'm not talking about politics. I'm leaving it out. But since there has been a mention on Indo-Pacific, I'll take 2 minutes more and then I'll stop. Indo-Pacific, now you're talking about Northeast, Bangladesh, Bay of Bengal, hopefully we'll also talk about Bhutan and Nepal. Now, these people of this area and the government of this area not essentially looks at Indo-Pacific in the same frame as that of Japan or India. There is still a lot of hesitations, for that matter from Bangladesh. Should we 100% associate with this or wait for a while? And rightly so, state has the authority to do that. Not only state, people also not very sure that is it the right way to go? Would that lead us to a bigger conflict? Or we are better off creating less wealth now and having a peaceful future? So that's the other question that we also need to answer. I will sort of close by referring to Rabindranath Tagore, because being a Bengali, one shouldn't close statement in this August gathering quoting from him. Rabindranath Tagore, he read the mind of this people of this region very eloquently, and he actually said what needs to be said. He said, don't sit on the shore of Bay of Bengal and imagine that this would have happened, this could be happened romantically. Try and cross it. See what is there on the other side. It was a very philosophical but very pragmatic support. So in order to do something, the people of this region have to go to the other side to see how things are happening. I forgot one thing to mention, because there has been a lot of talk about second generation trade and investment agreement, SEPA. Now, what is the issue in SEPA in this part of the world as opposed to Southeast Asia? It is the people's mobility. How SEPA will accommodate people's mobility, because that's a no-go area for most of these countries. It's a very lethal area. The moment you talk about people's mobility, collaboration fizzles out. How do you tackle that? It has not been discussed properly. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Shahidul Haq, and thank you for your candor. I just wanted to make 2 points. I think completely agree with you that it's very important for the stakeholders in any such projects or any such concepts that you have to take ownership and to be part of it for it to be successful. And I think we totally agree with you. Insofar as the Indo-Pacific as such is concerned, I don't really see it, and I'm sure Sumit here, who really represents the government more than me now, can say, I don't see it as a political construct. I see it as a geo-economic construct, and I think our Prime Minister was very clear in saying that he saw it as an inclusive construct. That meant it left nobody out. Everybody was willing, should have been party to it. And of course, there were some basics, which is really freedom of navigation. There's certain rule of law that one has to follow. So I would rather look at this, particularly in the context of what we are talking about, the economic development of this whole region, as more of a geo-economic construct, which doesn't, which we will like to think is shorn of too much of political overhang, though there are people who like to see it like that. I know that. I'm quite aware of that. So I think Mr. Kunishi-san, yeah, please, if you could please. So you have a big job because you have to tell us about the new horizons. I don't think we've done justice to that part of it. So please do talk about how ADB is going to take us to new horizons.
Well, that's a very interesting way of putting a last person a pressure on a new horizon. I don't know if I can articulate in terms of the new horizon, but allow me to thank giving us this opportunity. As you mentioned, Asian Development Bank is a multilateral development bank, and we work in, particularly on this particular topic, we used to catalyze the importance of the regional cooperation and integration agenda through our South Asia, through the South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation, as mentioned, and ADB has been acting as a secretariat for this platform. It is a platform, and we look at it, SASEC, as more of the project-based platform, rather than, shall we say, a political initiative to discuss policy level. We do talk about policy discussion and drill down to more of the investment opportunity and project-based, which benefits ultimately more of the investment that directly goes in to help develop each state and each region. Now, allow me to just give a little bit of snapshot, focusing more on the regional cooperation, regional integration, and based on the India experience, since I'm the country director here, and we have also the opportunity to have with us today is a country director from Bangladesh for ADB representative. So you can see the importance that we place taking every opportunity to share our work under this kind of intellectual concord events so that we could share knowledge, share the lessons learned, and also learn from each other, so that as Honorable Ambassador of Japan, Mr. Suzuki, had mentioned, GMS has taken 30 years. We may be able to shorten that process by exchanging views and sharing lessons learned, and also cut short of that time horizon so that the reap of benefit could be, shall we say, shortened, and the benefit will be seen across the region, shall we say. Now, we've been working, ADBs has been working based on the request of the government of India to take up a feasibility study. And when you talk about inclusiveness, we rather go with a demonstrated and academic scientific approach, shall we say, so that we close the margin of error in terms of the failure rather than trying to bring a more of a positive net plus gain for the study that we share. Now, we've been asked to task by the government of India to look into a feasibility study to develop an economic corridor in the northeastern region. Earlier, ADB also engaged with the government of India to work on the vision study to develop Assam as India's gateway to ASEAN, and the feasibility study to develop a multi-modal logistic park in Assam. These yield into a downstream, more of an investment project, not just from ADB. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay. So we have started with Assam, and now we have finally, based on the government of India's request, we have conducted a study called a Northeast Economic Corridor Study. And taking this opportunity, we're happy to announce that this study has been, shall we say, sanctioned by government of India with no objection, and we are in the midst of trying to sensitize this into a smaller volume and digestible volume. The volume is about 800 pages. It goes into detail, and I will touch upon a few key elements of this, including the project transport and trade facilitation, infrastructure, energy, and regulatory areas, where we think it's the key enabler to enhance the regional connectivity. So it's an 800-page document. We'll try to sensitize it to a more digestible size so that we can disseminate to everyone as soon as possible. But this has been taking quite some time since it went through a very diligent consultative approach both from the public sector and private sector survey and analysis for each state. And the state's Northeast Economic Corridor study does include the key findings of the multimodal transport network in envisioning a three-level. First, within the Northeast region, between Northeast and rest of India, with additional way of connectivity through Bangladesh, and with the neighboring country, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Myanmar, to enhance the Southeast Asia connectivity. And all the identified transport routes are in line with international and regional transport corridor, such as Asian Highway Network, Sussex Corridor, Trans-Asia Railway Network, and India-Bangladesh Inland Waterway Protocol routes. So it will lay out all the mappings, which all the other bilateral agency and also from the Bangladesh side, how it is connected all together. That's from the infrastructure side. Now, the second finding paid attention to the economic uplifting and equitable development for individual Northeast regional states and the region. And the study identified about 24 growth center and 19 border center that will drive the development of the state based of their own potential. This includes the key infrastructure, transport, urban power as an enabler and equitable economic development across the state and the region. Now, the third finding is going into unique characteristic and the benefit of each Northeast eastern states has. For example, in the manufacturing side, while oil and gas sector has a significant upside potential in Assam, wood-based products like bamboo are found to have appropriate production ecosystem in all states. And rubber processing can be a key manufacturing activity in Tripura, and cement industry can be developed further in Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, and Nagaland. And the study does recommend in detail in terms of each state's potentiality and also enabling environment that could enhance this potential further. Also, northeastern region-wise, there's a wide tourism sector that is a key priority. Also, we also identified a potential of medical tourism to to be developed in Assam and Manipur. So this study does go into in depth in terms of looking at the potentiality, and that gives a little bit of priority for the states to focus if they choose to invest. So it is a very comprehensive deep dive analysis in terms of the study that we've been requested to us. And the fourth element that the Northeast Economic Corridor study does pay attention to is the international trade and building on the transport network within Northeast connecting to the international gateways. And the study recommends enhancement of the border facilitation in neighboring countries such as Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Myanmar. And other focuses on 19 land customs stations in the region, and also suggest off-border clearance by establishing an inland clearance depot, and recommend technology-based solution to ensure faster movements of goods and services across the border. Now, these are all study-based, and based on the study, we wanted to ensure that, just to cite an example in terms of our past industrial corridor activity, we have since been working, looking at the industrial corridor development since 2013, and we started the concept of the India's first coastal economic corridor spanning from Kolkata to Kanyakumari, and then we supported the state of the East Coast to develop a conceptual development plan of the corridor master plan to seek the node, and committed about 2 billion for the development of Vizag-Chennai and Chennai-Kanyakumari industrial corridor. Why this is important, this also links into the overall India's East Coast economic corridor to facilitate the South Asia and Southeast Asia connectivity. Also, from the Bangladesh side, we are supporting the development of Kanula-Dhaka and Dhaka-Sylhet corridor. So we're looking at more of the corridor development so that it's more of economic development based on the corridor development. So it takes a little bit of different tack. Of course, we're a multilateral institution, and we do apologize that it may not fit into this whole overall bilateral engagement, but we are looking at the reaping of the benefit of the, based on the Northeast economic region, also from there, how it can translate as a gateway, not just the connectivity, but movement of people and human goods and also commodity in a more efficient way. So based on this public and private sector stakeholder understanding, and also it identifies the challenges that we've foreseen. So we do hope that we can cut short of the time of the lessons learned from other regions and to try to apply more of the project-based approach so that we can reap the investment rather than talk the talk, rather than we should be walk the walk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kunishi-san. Actually, you have done what I perhaps had requested, in the sense that you have told us that there are actually comprehensive studies that are going on in these areas that, you know, which we look at as the new horizons, but preparing the ground, as it were. And you've also extended it beyond really these three countries involved. You extended it to Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar, I think, where there was very little talk about Myanmar when you talk about the larger area. I do know we're running out of time, but I just want one comment each. I think Sumit quickly and Professor Shahid Al-Haq, on just how do you see this triangular relationship going ahead? Just 2 sentences, please, quickly.
Just quickly, 2 ideas, you know. Triangles, so just going back to my mathematics class, there are 3 types of triangles. One is scalene triangle, where all the 3 sides are different. And then there is something called isosceles triangle, where 2 sides are equal, but the third one is not. And the ideal triangular relationship is an equilateral triangle, which is the most stable. So I think we need to aspire towards that. That this equilateral triangle also will have 3 angles. on which we'll have to work. One of them is a geopolitical angle. We cannot separate geopolitics from this. That's very important for us. Second is the geo-economic angle, which you have mentioned, but I want to focus on the third angle, which is going to assume more importance in coming years, is the geo-technological angle. Technology is going to be the key to unravel or unlock this landlocked region. That's what I want to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sumit. Professor.
Thank you very much. I think you're talking about the triangle. The question is, are these three countries have symmetry? No, it's an asymmetric relationship. Now, in the asymmetric unilateral, the more powerful need to be more sensitive and more accommodative. So that's one thing. And we see that in terms of Indian postures and proposal towards Bangladesh. But the most important of this initiative, which wasn't there 7.5 decades back or 3.5 decades back, or when the ADB was taking, is the active participation of Japan. Now, Japan in this region is considered to be a true friend. And it's not because the ambassador is sitting here, but having my own experience working very closely in the government, I've seen that anything comes out of the Japanese portfolio get 50% acceptance immediately. So that's a big advantage, and I'm sure it's also with India and others. So that's an advantage. So the Japanese participation in this triangular relationship, which is not symmetric, which is asymmetric, could be a game changer. Now, provided, as I said, we take this, and I will conclude with it. I see these kinds of initiative primarily a political construct, a social construct, an economic construct, and over and above, it's a cultural construct. If you leave out one, you will see down the lane, we'll have difficulties. And in this construct, somehow or other, people have to be in the center. Not only in saying, but also in implementing. I'm talking about the projects. If you take the projects to the field level, you know, let's be half-cooked and let the people cook it for themselves. That's what I'm saying. So, the power, the culture, the environment, three big factors in making this mini-lateral successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We can take, and we're running quite out of time. I'm not even sure what the time really is. We've got about 5 minutes to 8:30. Couple of questions, 2 exactly. Yes, sir, at the back, please. Could someone take a mic to him? Please give us your name and say who the question is addressed to, please. Can someone take a mic to the gentleman at the back, please?
I am Professor J. Dongal from Department of Political Science, Mizoram University. I would like to raise 2 short questions to Dr. Sumit Seth. As we know, the ongoing policy of the government of India, Look East, has been changed into Act East since 2014. But for those border states and people living in border area, is it the government or the policy really acting? So there is a lot of question in this regard. And in this regard, what I would like to inquire is that, is the government seriously working for improvement of connectivity in international border area of northeastern region? The reason being, as we are aware, KMMTP road, which is supposed to connect Mizoram with Switi Port in Rakhine State, Bay of Bengal, completion has been extended more than 2 times now. Then on the other hand, there is also Colodine Hydroelectric Project 2 project. And in this regard, NTPC has begun functioning in Longklai district of Mizoram since 2008. But up till now, there is no taken up of the project. And over and above that,
so what is your question?
And over and above that, there are many proposals for starting of LSC, but Land Custom Center.
We get
but
your points.
None of them are not yet coming
the delay
up.
in projects.
So, is the government seriously acting in that
so
regard?
let me answer your question.
That is the one. And the second which I would like to put up, I think we are all aware of it. Since the past 2-3 years, dry Arikanat, or what we call dry kuwa, began to be entering from Myanmar, particularly from Manipur and Mizoram. And in this regard, there are many cases and many hide-up seems to be involved. And who is to be responsible? It seems to be illegal, but sometimes it seems as it is legal also. So in this regard, what is the policy of the government? So those are the two short questions which I'm raising.
Thank you, sir.
So I think in the spirit of democracy, I would answer first question and maybe pass on the more difficult one to my other co-panelist. You asked me whether is the government serious about connectivity in the Northeast? The answer is in 3 letters, yes. Y-E-S, yes. And some of the projects are really actually complicated because there are multiple factors involved. There are factors which are in control and there are factors which are beyond our control. So we need to be patient. I know that you want projects to be completed in a certain deadline and so on. So we are also learning and improvising ourselves so that we are able to complete this project in time. But I must assure you that government is 100% serious in increasing the connectivity in Northeast region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me also reiterate and support our colleague from the MEA, India. I can tell you that I have been very closely associated with this process as the Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh, and I see a major thrust of from 2014 onwards. The Prime Minister Modi took over the power to link Northeast with Bangladesh, and there has been a consistent, systematic push for that. That's how we see from the Bangladeshian. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's puts certainly answers I think the question. There are always delays, happens very often in projects. We heard this before. Any other question? That'll be the last one. I think everyone's tired. I don't see any hand going up. Oh, there is one. Sorry, I spoke too fast. Yes, sir. Get you a mic.
No, it's only a simple question is that this Colodine project, which is to be connected with the C2E. Actually, I have visited that area from Aizawl to Longklai and Shaiha. So roads were constructed, but after that what has been done? You have replied in 3 letters. I also expect you reply again in 3 letters. Whether the project has been rejected or it is going on.
Sir, I think it's too specific right now. I don't know
since
whether
I have lived in Myanmar for 2.5 years. I was Deputy Chief of Mission in our embassy there. Kaladan project is such a vast and multi-dimensional project. It's a multi-modal project, as you know. There's a sea involved, there is waterways, there is road, and there is also internal political issues, which is there. I know that you have been visited there. I have also visited those places. So the first step is to build roads, make the waterways viable and so on. Second is to increase the confidence in people to take their cars on those roads, and without having any fear of any landmines blasting and so on. So it's not an easy question to answer, So you told that it is a simple question, but it is actually not a simple question.
Thank you, Sumit. I think that brings us to the end of this session. I think what we have taken away from this is that all the parties concerned, first of all, the stakeholders, that is the people, I think the governments of the two countries, international, we have a multilateral organization in the ADB. Japan, our great partner, everyone seems to be agreed that this is very important, the development of this area, and I think this is a priority for all of us. I think that's what we take away from here. Thank you very much.
Honorable Ma'am, before we end this session, I would like to request our Honorable Madam Chair, Her Excellency Ambassador Deepa Gopal Vadhva Madam, to felicitate our very dynamic personalities, our panelists on the dais. We are facilitating Professor Shahidul Haq, Bhagabandhu Chair Professor, Delhi University. Dr. Sumit Seth, Joint Secretary PPNR, Minister of External Affairs. Mr. Takeo Konishi, Country Director, Asian Development Bank. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we end today's session. Now, on behalf of Asian Conference, we are felicitating our Madam Chair, Her Excellency Ambassador Deepa Gopal Vadhva Madam. Esteemed dignitaries, this entire conversation was to highlight the larger framework of cooperation between ongoing bilateral cooperations between India, Japan and Bangladesh, and how that can be leveraged for cooperation to secure a prosperous Bay of Bengal neighborhood. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this session was a very knowledgeable one and very fruitful one. I once again thank you all for your glorious presence.
Good evening, everyone. Tomorrow, our session starts at 9:15, and all of you are cordially invited to the closed-door sessions. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before closing this entire day, one more announcement. The report which have been released is live on the website of Asian Confluence, and the website is that www.asianconfluence.org. So I request all the esteemed dignitaries to check it and go through it as per your convenience. Thank you. Namaskar.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I repeat, tomorrow the session starts at 9:15, and all of you are cordially invited for the closed-door sessions. Thank you.
Honorable Excellencies, esteemed dignitaries from Japan, Bangladesh and India, as we answer